All right, y'all, we're gonna have a lot of fun today because I'm gonna teach you how to use a backpack sprayer. Now, when you're finished with this video, you'll be able to confidently blanket spray your lawn. Now, what blanket spray means is applying product to the entire lawn consistently from one end to the other, like a warm blanket of goodness for the lawn. Now, I'll be using the Yard Mastery 4-gallon backpack sprayer, and that comes with everything you need to confidently blanket spray anything from pre-emergent herbicides to liquid fertilizers and everything in between. And in my opinion, this is one of the best sprayers available to DIYers, and I'll leave you a link below. But if you have a different one that you like or that you're using, all the teaching that I show you in this video can be translated and used with any sprayer, no problem. So here's my 4-gallon backpack sprayer. When I fill this tank up with Chems, my job is to get everything in that tank out evenly over my lawn. But how much area can I actually cover with that 4 full gallons of spray mix? So this brings us to the first lesson, and that is to teach you a standard that we use in lawn care. And that standard is that when we're talking about lawns, when it comes to applications, everything we do is broken down into 1,000 square foot increments. That's the standard, and that's what you're going to find on labels of products you buy. Increments of 1,000 square feet. It doesn't matter what you're applying either. For example, you can see granular fertilizers. You can see the coverage here is broken down 18-pound bag covers, 6,000 square foot. Increments of 1,000 square feet. You can see here on this insect control, treats up to 12,500 square feet. And then you can see here on a liquid, see right there, 12 to 18 ounces per 1,000 square feet. Here is liquid concentrate fungicide. You can see here some mix rates I'm just looking at real quick. Look, fluid ounces per 1,000 square feet. So like I said, in lawn care, we talk about areas in increments of 1,000 square feet. Now, in order for you to apply this standard to your lawn, you need to first measure your lawn. And you want to understand how many thousand square feet that you actually have under your care. And when you do measure, you want to measure actual grassy areas. Step them off, length times width. Don't just go looking at a real estate survey, because even though that might show you that you're on 1/3 of an acre, that doesn't take into account the house, driveways, sidewalks, landscaping, and all of that stuff. What we want to get is actual grass space and divide it up into segments or sections. So I have a property map here that a fan actually laminated for me, which is really cool. But you can see I've kind of segmented things down, and I understand how big each area is of my lawn. Now, the other thing you can do is you can measure by satellite in my app, and I actually recommend that you do both. So I'll give you a link in the description below to my free app. It's called Yard Mastery, where you can go ahead and measure your lawn and segment it out via satellite, and then you can compare it to your own property map that you made. All right, so now that you know the standard unit of measurement we use is 1,000 square foot increments, and you also know how big your lawn is, now you're one step closer to getting out and spraying and praying with confidence. All right, so back to the sprayer. Like I said, it can hold 4 gallons of spray mix, but how much of an area can that 4 gallons cover? So this is where we're going to use that standard. Remember I taught you about lawn care being measured in 1,000 square foot increments? Because when it comes to spraying with a backpack sprayer like this, the standard is that 1 gallon of spray mix covers 1,000 square feet. So that means that if I fill up this tank and there's 4 gallons in there, I can cover 4,000 square feet. And so knowing that, you can now see why it's so important to actually measure your lawn and segment it out. Now you can understand if you even need a 4-gallon sprayer in the first place. If you only have a little 2,000 square foot lawn postage stamp, you may want to just invest in a 2-gallon sprayer like this one. It's perfect for a 2,000 square foot lawn because it's 2 gallons. For me in my house, I have 8,000 square feet, and I know that if I'm going to blanket spray my entire lawn with something, I'll need to fill this up twice. Okay, so now mark this down. When it comes to spraying liquids from a backpack or a hand can, 1 gallon of spray mix covers 1,000 square feet. That's the standard. All right, next let's talk about just the tips, and only for a minute or two. So when it comes to spraying, the tips, they serve 2 purposes. The first one is to regulate the flow. So think about it like this. These 2 sections here, this section of lawn and then that one across the sidewalk way over there, those 2 sections together are 4,000 square feet. To blanket spray those 2 areas, I would need to walk back and forth and evenly coat the area. If I took a tip like this with a very small orifice, it will take quite a while to force the 4 gallons through. Just watch. So I've got that little yellow tip on there, and I'm just going to go ahead and see how long it takes to push out 64 ounces or a half a gallon. And what you'll find is that it's 1 minute and 20 seconds, which between you and me, that's slow. That would take forever if you were spraying.
That's 64 ounces, and it took 1 minute and 20 seconds. So that means it would take 2 minutes and 40 seconds, so over 2.5 minutes to just get out 1 gallon with that little yellow tip.
Now let's take a tip with a much larger orifice opening and see the difference. Now I've got that heavier flow tip on there, and you're gonna see that things go much, much faster, maybe even a little bit too fast. Now in the next section, we're gonna get a lot deeper when it comes to these tips, but for now, just know that my goal as a DIYer is to be able to get this 4 gallons of spray mix out across that 4,000 square foot of area and do it at a comfortable walk pace. I don't want it to flow too slow so it takes a long time, but I also don't want it to flow too fast so I have to run to get it done. So choosing a tip with the proper flow rate is very important. But the second consideration, or the second thing the tips do, is they actually create a droplet pattern and a droplet size that's gonna work best for the application that you're doing. The first tip we looked at has a tiny orifice and it creates a nice fan spray, and the droplets are very fine. This is ideal for an application like a weed killer where you want as much of the liquid to stick to the surface of the weed leaf as possible. The smaller or finer the droplets, the more of them will land on the weed to kill it. On the other hand, this tip that allows a much faster flow rate, it also delivers a more large, coarse droplet size. This is helpful for applications that I'm going to need to water in. I'd rather these larger droplets plunge through the leaf canopy and get into the thatch or touch the soil right away when I spray them, and that will just help me when I go to water them in later. So in this training, I'm gonna be using this T-Jet Turbo Flood Jet wide angle flat fan tip. It's a TF-VP4. These tips deliver a flat spray pattern, and you can also get them in several different sizes to regulate the flow rate. So why this particular tip and why the white one? Well, I'm glad you asked. It's because this tip allows enough liquid to come through that I can get an application done in just a few minutes, but it's also not so fast that I have to run to get it done. Now, some of you want a more specific explanation on this, I know you do, and I actually did a really detailed blog post on all these different tips and what they mean and how they work and PSI and all of those different things. I'll give you a link in the description to that blog post below. But in order to spray, you actually need a little bit more information. Not just that I told you to use this, but what you need is a more specific explanation. You want to know exactly how fast or slow you have to walk when using this tip with that sprayer. And that's where we're going to get even deeper right now. We're going to go do a bucket test. And a bucket test is going to show us exactly how long it will take to pump the liquid out of the sprayer using this tip, the White Turbo Flood Jet Fat Fan. White Turbo Flood Jet Flat Fan. Now a gallon is 128 ounces. I have this 64 ounce pitcher. That's a half a gallon. The Yard Mastery sprayer has 2 settings, a low and a high. Now I'm gonna just use the low setting and I'm gonna run a timer to see how long it will take to fill up this 64 ounce pitcher. I'm gonna do this 4 or 5 times just to make sure I'm getting a consistent result, and I'm gonna record this in my lawn journal. Now you can see it takes 47 seconds to fill the 64 ounces, which means that it would then take 94 seconds to pump out a full gallon. 94 seconds is a minute and a half.
All right, so here are the numbers. With that white flood jet right there, it takes 47 seconds to put out a half gallon. So a gallon being 128 ounces, we need to multiply that by 2. So
94 seconds
to put out 1 gallon. So that's essentially a minute and a half. 94 seconds divided by 60 seconds was 1 minute, is 1.5. essentially. So 1.5 minutes to spray out a gallon of spray mix with that tip on the low setting on my sprayer.
So what that means is if I'm using the Yard Mastery sprayer on the low setting and I'm using this tip, I have a minute and a half to pump out 1 gallon, and that 1 gallon of spray mix is designed to cover 1,000 square feet. So let's revisit those standards one more time. Remember, we talk in lawn care in increments of 1,000 square feet. We also know that when we're spraying liquids, the standard is 1 gallon of spray mix covers 1,000 square feet of lawn area. From the bucket test we just did, we learned that the Yard Mastery sprayer can pump out a full gallon in 94 seconds, a minute and a half, and that's using the white tip on the low setting. Now I've been doing this for a long time, and I can tell you that covering 1,000 square feet of lawn space or spraying it in a minute and a half, that's a decent walk pace that anyone can achieve. So that means there, if I wanted to spray just this first section right here, this front section, that's 2,000 square feet right there, I'd have to fill my sprayer. I'd fill my sprayer up to the 2 gallon mark, and I'd have 3 minutes to get this area sprayed. Now, if I was really ambitious, I'd fill all 4 gallons up in there, and I'd have enough to do this 2,000 square foot section here, and then that 2,000 square foot section over there, and I'd have 6 minutes to get that done. That's still not going to be too bad. To walk all of that in 6 minutes, not too bad. Math sure is fun, isn't it? So I went ahead and put 2 gallons of water into my sprayer, and then I just put a splash of Humic 12 in there, mainly so you guys can see a little bit better here in the video. There I am at the 2-gallon mark. Now I'm going to go ahead and load up and go out and spray. So you're going to see I start here with a trim pass just to get the edges done, keep things off on my sidewalks. I go ahead and frame out the entire area here. Now I'm ready to start filling in the field. And if you're wondering about the overlap here as you make each pass, there really isn't much of an overlap. You just really want to go tip to tip or kiss the tip of the previous pass, which is a lot more enjoyable than nut to butt, but I digress. The real thing I want you to see here is the walk speed. You can see that I'm not running, but I'm also not, laboring to slow down. It's just a comfortable walk pace. One other tip is you can use polarized sunglasses to help you see where you've sprayed. Always good to be able to tell the wet spots from the dry, and polarized sunglasses will help you with that. Now when I get to about the halfway mark, I'm not quite halfway done here. I just want to check, see where I'm at. Now you're going to see that I'm not level here, but I'm just over 1 gallon, and that's where I should be because I'm almost halfway done and I have just over 1 gallon left. So that tells me that I'm good to go. Now, over time, what's going to happen is you'll be able to feel the weight of the mix coming off your back as you spray, and you'll know what that weight feels like as you move on. It's like a muscle memory kind of thing to where you can tell when you're about to empty out, and then you can look at where you're at in your field and know if you've done a good job or not. And of course, you can see I got mine almost all the way pumped out, and that's because I've been using the sprayer for a long time, and I also know my... Now in the next video, we're going to put all this into practice, and what you're going to find is that 1,000 square foot standard, it translates even better once you're actually mixing up chemicals and spraying. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you subscribe. Leave me any questions that you have in the comments below, and as always, I'll see you in the lawn.